How about now?
There we go. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So Wednesday is live training day. Please excuse my art studio back there. It's in process. Okay, and so today we have, we had a really great session yesterday, and it brought up some interesting ideas and conversations around sort of that idea of, well, we deal with a lot of people who are in their 40s to in their 60s, and in that age, I'd say most people have learned who they are and what they want and what they don't want, and we notice a lot of people have done a lot of caretaking and they're done. They don't want to caretake anyone else, and they want to be taken care of. They deserve to be taken care of. They're feeling it all the way, right? They know themselves enough, and they're saying on the first date, I'd like to see proof of this.
Totally. And it's not like I need to be financially taken care of, right? It is all emotional,
Totally.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the funny part is it's like I always say, when we start realizing these little things about what we want and who we want to be and what it looks like it's new and it's unknown, and we end up acting a bit like a 2-year-old with a knife going, I can cut it, and you're like, okay, you can cut it, but let me help you, right? It's you're so focused on wanting to do this new way that you don't do it with any finesse or sensitivity. You're just worried about making sure you get to do it, right? And so that's, I think, where some of that anxiety around looking for, are you going to take care of me? Is this the kind of person that can, and what that looks like and stuff. So how are we talking about this today? You want to give me an
Let me start by asking you a question that I think is a real important one. So, why do I want to be taken care of so badly? Like, what is that about? Where's that need, coming
Yeah,
from? If I'm independent, because we're talking about how we work with high performance individuals
right,
in every aspect of their life. So they
right.
are on most of their lives, right? So yeah, what's that for you?
Yeah. So I think that, especially, having been a mother, I was stay-at-home mom for a while, took care of my kids, like all the way, took care of my big giant house and, all the things that come with a life like that, right? I did it all, but I loved it. It was like my job. And then I had a bakery and a business, taking care of all the things, right? Taking care of, right? It's like responsibility, it's duty, it's the big things. You're taking care of making dinner for everyone so everyone's fed, right? It's a survival thing, right? And you need someone to take care of you. You need someone to support you. You need somebody who's gonna come in and create a space for you so you're safe, right? Like, these are our younger types of ideas of what it takes for someone to take care of you. But as you have taken care of a family, a business, a husband, a partner, especially our parents, you start to feel this need to, I think it's not even a need. I think in the beginning, you just start to notice, I'm tired and I need something.
The sparkle's gone. You've lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Takes a lot of
And
energy.
this phenomenon, right, is not it's not gender based. It
Right.
is, everybody it's an age thing. It's a responsibility and an age thing. Don't you agree?
Yeah, as we get to these ages, we're just tired. I used to feel like, especially when I was taking care of the kids a lot, and it was just a 24-hour cycle of, stay-at-home mom, right? It's like I felt like my cup was constant. I was pouring water out of my cup. I'm the cup, right? And so my cup was constantly, here's some water, here's some water, here's some water, and nothing or nobody was filling my cup. And that was the thing, is I was looking for somebody to fill my cup. My cup is empty. I have to give to everybody and I don't even have any left. So I want someone to fill my cup for me. And I think it kind of comes down to that feeling of not knowing how to fill your own cup. And so you're looking for someone to do it. And these ideas of, I take care of you, I want someone to take care of me, as opposed to finding the things that fill your cup and make you feel full again. Because it's not so much about, I don't need someone to pay my bills, I don't need someone to make my dinner, I don't need someone to, you know, take my car to get it fixed. Like, I need someone who thinks about me and is wondering, is my car safe, is my car okay, you know, like, hey babe, is your car good, can I take it in for you, or, you know, like, that is a taking care of, right? And so these are like large aspects. Not even sure if I answered that right.
You did, and I actually wanted to sideline it because you brought up a good point when you were talking about um shoot, I kind of lost it. You were talking about before what being taken care of looks like. Uh, we were on why do I want to be taken care of so badly? Oh, and you were saying fill your own cup. And I think there's a couple things, right? At that stage when you're so exhausted, you're like filling my own cup means more work that I have to do. And most people don't have the capacity when we are raising kids, building businesses, healing from divorces, losing someone, taking care of someone, losing your spouse, your wife, your husband, your partner. You know, seeing your parents out of this life. I mean, it's just not enough time to do all of it all at once. And then when you're like, I think people roll their eyes when they're like, oh, you want me to fill my cup, right? They're like, oh, what am I going to do? Get a pedicure? Like, I have no time. So it's interesting because, what it brought up for me is this idea that we resist the things that bring us the most joy.
Mm,
Because if I really wanted to fill my own cup, I would have to admit that I keep myself so full so that I don't have to spin out,
mm,
right? So I think a lot of people do that when we're talking about high achievers. It's like we have to be the best parents. Our kids have to go to the greatest, have the most opportunities. We want to be leaders. We want to support others. We want, to be impactful in the world. I mean, they're just really big goals,
mhm,
right? Um, and they take a lot of emphasis. And I know even for myself, you know, all I want to do, and I say this all the time, all I want to do is dance. It's the only thing I woke up and wanted to do today. That's it. I wanted to literally, if I could go to my girlfriend's house and we could dance all day long, I would feel so good. And people make a living that way,
yeah.
right? They do. People have the courage to change their entire life in a heartbeat, right? But do people that are high achievers, do they have that luxury? And I don't think so,
So
you know,
interesting. Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
like you want to be, of course, you want to be taken care of by someone because you're just like, I don't have time to do it, to take care of myself. I really need someone with the capacity to do it for me. And I think that's number one distinction is
Hmm.
that one, it's okay to want to be taken care of. It's okay to have a person want to do it for you in your time. Now, what's interesting though, right, is normally that comes in waves in 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in 30 years, you're stressed out. I got you. I got us. I got plenty of time. You can go dance. I'll hold down the fort, right? You guys are going back and forth.
Right.
Um, in new dating, it doesn't work, right? So what do, right? So why do I expect it on a first date?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? That dynamic to happen so quickly that,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like proof. I want proof in the pudding that this person is capable of taking care of someone. And if they take care of me on this first date, then I'll know they're able to do it. I'll get that feeling of, oh, I'm safe, right? It's like a safety thing. It's, we hear from a lot of people, interesting, it comes in different ways. So from some of the men we've heard, I want them to put in the work in the dating app as much as I do, right? Tit for tat, tit for tat. I want an interest. I want someone to ask something interesting about me, and then I'll ask something interesting about you. I want you to reach out to me first, and then I'll reach out to you first. But and then some of the women, and this is hetero, male, female, because it goes back to old, masculine, feminine dynamics. Some of the females are like, I don't want to govern the conversation. Why do I have to think of all the fun things to talk about? I don't want to set up the date. I don't want to ask for the date. Right. It even gets there. I don't want to ask for the date. I don't want to go to them for the date. I want them to think of what we're going to do on the date. And that's a lot of responsibility and expectation, um and like expectation with, and it better be good, for somebody who doesn't even know you, right? Who hasn't even met you, who doesn't care about you yet, who doesn't have anything invested in you. All these expectations are way out of proportion for somebody, you could be talking to at a grocery store, the person behind the counter at the grocery store, right? You have that much knowing about each other, right? So that is where we get caught in these like um, expectations of who's going to do more. And if you do it, now I have the proof that you are capable of taking care of me, right? And everyone gets disappointed because no one's going to deliver.
Totally. Totally. Because you have both parties coming with the same energy. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of heavy energy. If you're 60, and you've been taking care of people your whole life, right? And you finally are starting to feel free and like fun again. I get wanting the date to be very date like. And I do think that's one of the solutions, right? And so I think I think about this masculine feminine dynamic, and maybe we can take it there real quick because um people say, I want, a lot of women will say, I want a leader. I want a man who leads. And this is in hetero dating, right? Um, I want a man who leads. And so, if you look up some of the leadership styles,
Mhm.
right? One, if you really go and look up what leadership is and what it means, right? There's very few really strong leaders in the world. In the world, right?
Interesting. Tell me more.
So there's also 5 different styles of leadership. Some people are servant leaders, some people are transactional leaders. Like there's just different types of styles of leaders. So if you say, I want a leader, I want someone who leads the date, one thing you need to understand about leadership, right, is that um, you can't lead someone in a date that you don't have any rapport with.
Mm,
You can do You can mimic leadership qualities, which is good decision making, making someone comfortable. You can do these things, but those are very egalitarian, you know, uh, behaviors,
mm,
right? So I think that in the dating, if your only job is my job is to make you comfortable so
mhm.
that you open up and share. And my job is to make myself comfortable. Hopefully they're making you comfortable, right? And if they're not, just move on. Just say, you know what, I got to wrap this date. Nice to meet you. Good luck in your search. G- Wrap the date up, because I'm so sick of people saying, oh God, I had to sit and suffer for, an hour. No, you didn't. If this person was not um, a, a great date, um, then you can say, well, I got to get going. I've got an early morning. Nice, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Moving on. That's for them to go hire a date coach and
yeah,
figure out why every woman or man leaves early, That's not on you. You
right.
did your part, right? So I think it's important to know that we can enter into this dynamic, and then once there's a relationship established, there's consent. Both parties are saying, I consent to this relationship, that we're going to build it together,
Mhm,
which is a mutual act, right? Um, then you start developing that dynamic together,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Masculine is doing energy, feminine is allowing energy. Both, all sexes have it. We
yeah,
all have it. We have both,
yeah, yeah.
and everybody's like, I want to become more feminine. And I'm very masculine. And it is, I attract masculine men are attracted to me. If a man that says I want a very feminine woman, I would know in his bio that I would not be the one for him
Mm,
because I'm not like that. I want a masculine man who appreciates a masculine woman. It doesn't mean that on a date I don't show up all like, "You're so cute and funny." I do. I don't show up with any of that on a date. It's because it's not what I think a date is about, but,
Mm.
yeah, that's
So,
my
side note,
take on it.
do you think a masculine energy is not flirty?
I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's action oriented.
Ah,
Masculine energy is doing. It's just you're in your masculine when you're getting shit done.
yeah, right.
And when you are in your feminine
Allowing,
energy, you're
yeah,
allowing. And
receiving.
that's it. I think if we remove genders from masculine and feminine, it is the yin and the yang, right?
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
if we look around the world, I feel like our culture kind of screws it up. It assigns gender to an energy.
yeah, yeah. And then we've got gender roles. I don't cook and clean. I don't take care of you because I'm the masculine, right? As opposed to, you know,
Right, I
um,
provide,
yeah,
you know?
and then feeling like that's enough. But ultimately, what it comes down to is just caring about each other. You know, Women tend to cook and do that feminine style stuff because we are nurturing and we are caretaking, and you may not even be like that until you have a baby. And then some hormonal thing just happens in you where all of a sudden you're like, I must feed everybody around me, and if you're not eating, I'm going to get worried about it. It's like a thing. And it has less to do with, um, uh, you know, that soft, feminine, I want to take care of everyone as it does, survival and um, just a little bit more of a like, it has less to do with caring and more to do with duty, I guess.
Totally, because it's not, yeah, because I would say that, parenting is a very masculine energy,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? I don't, again, I don't assign gender to the energy. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
there's a lot of feminine energy in parenting as well. A lot of time for allowing, a lot of time for action. And so it takes both.
Right.
And so, yeah, I didn't mean to say parenting is masculine. I meant to say it is
No,
both.
yeah, I
And
agree. I know what you mean. There's opportunities for both all the time in it. And I think
yeah,
that a lot of women that have had to raise kids on their own for a chunk of time, I think that they feel very caught in their masculine energy because they have done so much caretaking from a duty place. They haven't been able to sit and allow and, do a lot of that stuff. They're working, they're taking care of their house, they're taking care of their kids, and so now they're feeling taken care of. I've done so much. I want someone to take care of me. And so that's why it gets assigned as a masculine thing. And I talk to, a lot of lesbians who are saying, I'm this age, I'm, mid 50s, early 60s, and I'm not masculine. I feel very feminine, yet I am feeling masculine right now, and it's
right.
because they're like swinging back and forth in between and they don't have the opposite to,
To balance it.
yeah, exactly. So when you're on your own, I think the feminine gets a little bit left because you have to be in your masculine to take care of so many things, right?
Yeah, and like you said, there's no balance. That just blew my mind. You need the balance
Yeah.
on the other side, right? Because we have both, but if I don't have it coming out, yeah, it's interesting.
The light can't happen without the dark, right? It's like
Right.
that yin and yang. And
Yeah,
so
I love that.
interesting. How do we bring that about then? If it is about, being present to it in the moment, if you want more femininity in your life, how do you bring that about? If you want someone else to show up for you in their masculine, how do you ask for that in your life? No.
Yeah, I think one thing we talk about is changing your reframing your story, right? If it
Mm,
starts with I'm so exhausted, right? And like you were saying, you work with a lot of women, a lot of lesbians that have this experience. In my career, I've worked with a lot of men who were the primary caregivers for their um, children.
mm,
And so, my experience has always been really colored with a lot of women who had drinking issues and violence issues. And so all of these men would come to me and they'd be like, you know, they're exhausted. because they've
Mhm.
been doing it all. They've been doing it all, you know?
Yeah.
So they have all, everybody has this, that same energy around it. And so I think reframing the story once you start dating, first and foremost, if you are emotionally exhausted in relationships, that's not a great place to be in the dating world. You
Yeah.
know, I try to have very little judgment around, this idea that you should somehow go get ready to
Mm.
date,
Mhm.
because a lot of people do take the time to get ready to date, but a lot of people use dating as the way to um to heal or whatever. And loneliness is such an epidemic in the world. I don't think we should chastise people that want to connect. And so I really believe that we should say there's room for everybody in the dating world. You're allowed to go out and meet someone new, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and see if it unfolds. However, if you are emotionally exhausted, that energy, it doesn't matter how much you talk about the weather or the sports teams or your vacation, that underpinning is there,
Mhm.
and in the language we use, it still comes out, and we feel, your date will feel it. They
Mm.
will feel your tiredness. They'll somehow feel it, even if you're like, I didn't say anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like we feel it. We
Energy.
know that you're tired. Yeah. So you want to work on your energy first and foremost. Celine and I obviously are like, if you're not meditating, uh, you know,
Go meditate.
we're like, that is if you're going to do one thing, make one change in your life, Celine and I are both like, that's the first thing to do. Almost don't bring us any problems if you're not meditating,
Yeah.
like it's
You
not,
need to get quiet with yourself to even understand where you are, who you are, what's happening in here, because there's so much input from your phone, from your family, from friends, from media. Like there's so much input. You have to stop it. And the only way to stop it is to shut it off, right? Close your eyes, close your ears, just get quiet. Even if it's just like 20 minutes a day, it's like just doing that will remind you. And some people meditate by walking, walking on the beach, meditating, that counts, right? Something where your mind just drifts into a bit of an alpha state where you're not being given information and told to process it, right? And even though your thoughts can sometimes feel like that, once you get used to being in a one-sided state, which is without the input, your brain will start to relax and allow those thoughts to just think through, right? Like thought and out, right? They'll just kind of come and go. And then you start getting really good at having stuff come in and go out without getting all bunched up around it and caught and thinking and needing a list. And, it's like that's the brain training that you're doing. So that's the time when you learn who you are. You know what it feels like to not have, stuff coming at you and to be reactive. That's, the reactivity is the toxin, that's
I
the
know. You know what? Let's do meditation next Wednesday because it is such a deeper,
yeah,
more important conversation.
yeah,
Um,
agreed.
because I already want to go there, right? I'm already
Yeah,
like, let's go there because I do. I feel like we don't even have to train this if we just trained that to some
yeah, yeah,
extent. We don't have to train this, be emotionally ready if
right,
we trained that. So,
right.
but I think that's
So,
worthy.
yeah. So let's talk about, first date expectations, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, first date expectations for me is always, was I in flow? Was I able to articulate myself the way I want to? And did I show up? Was I present? Was I engaged? Was I kind? I'm
So
not really worried if I
less about judging the other person and were they this, were they that, did they check my boxes, and more like how did I come?
100% was I giving to this, unspoken agreement to be fucking awesome when I met someone new, like, cause that's that unspoken agreement. And I took that very seriously when I was dating, that was important. And, and so, yeah, I think that's the standard. I'm
Yeah,
going to be awesome with everyone I meet. Everyone is going to like me. They might not want to date me, but they're gonna feel good in my presence.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that's important,
All
and
right.
then also, are you like, do you know who you are and can you articulate it? That's really important. People ask good questions and then someone goes, I don't know. And
Yeah.
that's just a really shitty, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
can you give me some sort of thought? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That yeah, that's a whole other show too. Geez.
I know.
How to know who you are. And even when you don't, it's like if someone asks me a question I've never thought about before, it's like I just kind of go inward. I almost have to like kind of touch my heart for a second and go, what do I even think about that? What do I feel about that? And like, and then just be allowed to let it out. But let's talk about the first date. I want someone to plan the date for me because I want to be taken care of. I'm on an app. I'm on Bumble, and we've had a quick interaction. We realized, yes, let's meet. But I'm tired and I want to be taken care of, and so um, you know what am I looking for when this person talks about meeting? What's my responsibility and what's theirs? What do people do and what should they do? Let's do that.
Okay. So, and then remind me to come back to reframing your new story.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
okay. So, um, there is, there's different ways to do it, right? So, one way to do dating and setting the dates is just to really put yourself in a state of this is just a tool. This is not, I'm not building, this isn't relationship building at this stage. This
Hmm.
is a tool to meet someone. And
Hmm.
so if it's just a tool to meet someone and I'm not building a relationship with them right now, then who cares who sets the date?
Hmm.
It's just I'm just a secretary, my own secretary.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, really that's what we do. That's what you and I do for these people is we remove the emotions out of, them overthinking. I don't like how he said that.
Yeah.
Or I don't know,
What
she
does he
answered my
mean? Yeah.
question. Yeah, she answered my question, but she didn't ask me anything, right? And it's like, so, and I get it. I understand. And if you want to wait until you have someone who's capable of a really high level conversation, do
Via text.
so.
Via text.
Via
Remember, we're via
text.
text.
Do so, but do not complain ever about how much online dating sucks. Just don't do it because, we can give you a quick way to like date if you want dates. But if you really just want to take your time and do it, then they're out there. It just, there's only gonna be one or two that engage like that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Just be patient. Um, So I would say reach out first always. And if it's a tool and if I've already swiped right and he swiped right, we've both said, I want to meet you. I think there's something there, right? So I might say, usually I just say, hey John, if it's a full profile, everything's there and I feel like, okay, this is full. I will just go for the first date. I'll say, hey John, I like your profile. Are you interested in meeting to see if we have a connection? Now, if I want to stay in my feminine, right? Even though I just asked for the date, but I really want to shift that dynamic quickly, as quick as possible. And he comes back and says, yes, I'd love to meet you. Then I will send him my schedule. I will say, amazing. I can do Tuesday at 6. I can do Thursday at 7. I can do Saturday at 10 and anytime Sunday. I'll give him probably 4 to 5 days of availability and the times. Don't do this like lunch or early evening. Just give the time that you can do it and you'll figure it out later, right? The specifics later. And then
Yeah.
I'd say, I'd give him my schedule. He'd come back and pick a day, right? And then
Mhm.
I'd say, I'm coming from downtown San Diego. I'm super flexible on where I go. Um, so if you just want to pick a spot you love, and tell me what time and day, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
I am allowing him to make all those choices. Now, if I want to control for safety or for just my own schedule,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Like there's nothing wrong with picking the place and setting the date, right? Like people love it. The men love it,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so if I want to do that, then when he says, yeah, I'd love to meet, then I'm saying, amazing. I'm giving him my schedule. He's going Saturday at 10's great. I'm going perfect. I'm looking where he's coming from. Okay, he's coming from Carlsbad. You know what would be awesome? I like coffee and a walk. So I'll say, hey, Super Bloom, is like a super cute coffee shop. We can just grab a quick coffee and like go for a walk on the water. Does that sound good to you? Sounds amazing. Perfect. See you at 10.
Yeah.
Done. It
Yeah.
is, it's done. It's well executed. Now there's no forced intimacy. No one's decided anything.
Mhm.
Now, when we get to the date, we can decide now I can show up in, my more feminine state if I want, or whatever. I can just show up as me, and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the next problem. I think that's fantastic, and absolutely, I did a quick TikTok about this the other day. Like, men ask for the date, women ask for the date. Say yes, right? Like, just do it. Remember, it's not 1945. We're not, showing up at doorsteps with corsages. We are just trying to meet in person, right? We just
Yeah.
live in this other world where asking someone out on the app is not the same as asking them out on a date because you feel romantically connected. It is just,
Right.
let's meet, let's see if there's a connection. That's it. So now, next one is I had to do all the work on the date. I had to ask all the questions. It was, dead air. What do we do?
So I think you have to be flexible and understand that people sometimes think dates are like interviews.
Hmm.
And so they don't want a date to feel like an interview. So they don't go with any questions because in their head, they assume it's going to be this free flowing banter back and forth. But
Yeah.
that's really hard to achieve when you don't know someone, right? So there's always usually one person talking a ton, not asking any questions, or one person asking a ton of questions. I would chalk that up to a lack of, connection.
Mm.
I
I
would that would just tell me some information, right? It would just so if I met someone and I had to do all the work and he said, "Do you want to go out again?" Let's say that I kind of liked him. I would probably say, "Okay, well, let's do an activity next because this guy doesn't talk a lot," right? Like I would probably switch it. So I'd probably be like, "Yeah, what's something super fun that you want to do that's like an activity so we're not just like sitting there with endless conversation. You seem like, a man of few words." I would probably say that, but I would be open to
Yeah.
this idea that we could create something different next time.
Mhm.
Granted, there'd have to be something like if I meet you and you don't talk, which this was my experience with my boyfriend.
I know.
Our first date, he didn't speak. And
And if
and
you
I
guys
was
know Jolene, she talks.
no, no, okay, so but here's the deal. I was trying to change my behavior on dates
Yeah.
because I knew men didn't like women who talked a lot, or I thought men didn't like women who talked a lot. So I was not talking either. And so it was just a really very dry date. But I found him incredibly sexy. Like, it was raw attraction for me, raw physical attraction for me. So I didn't require a lot of conversation to like feel compelled to go out again, right?
Interesting.
Um,
So there
yeah,
can be
yeah.
chemistry even in an awkwardness.
I think as long as there's yeah, I think there's raw physical chemistry. You just want to be with some. Now, I mean, that's just my experience, right? So, but then on our second date, he really I did everything. I planned all of it. I did everything I just told everyone to do is what I did in my own dating, and it worked very efficiently, right? And, on date 2, he called me and he said, "I'd love to take you to dinner. Can I pick you up from your house at 7?" He made a reservation at a sushi restaurant. It was one of the best dates of my entire life, and I'd never had a date planned. At that stage in my life, I
Mm.
had never had anyone plan a date for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
That
That's
was the one and only. I will tell you, he has not planned a date since. Total bait and switch. But
Yep.
whatever, like whatever, I always think, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Like and I just want to get to the good stuff, and the good stuff is the real relationship building. So I do think you need to have something. And so if you're leaving a date and you're just like mad about it,
Mhm.
right? Mad about this person who you believe didn't have the courtesy. I'm sure it's not he didn't have the courtesy or she didn't have the courtesy to let you carry the conversation. I've seen a lot of feedback. they probably thought you were so interesting. They probably loved, like hearing you share, or they thought, God, she's really good at this dating thing, right? Like they probably left with a good feeling.
Confident.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so if you leave with the bad feeling, that's a you issue. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier of the don't come in emotionally exhausted. Don't
Mhm.
come into dating with this shitty energy of everybody sucks and dating sucks and you're going to probably suck and everybody's disappointing me,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You're never, no one's, like you said, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Reminded me of something else.
Sorry.
No, no, no. It's just so many thoughts actually. Um, so one of the things, and I love that so yeah, Jolene has been a date coach for so long and with a company where she hears the feedback from both sides. So she's coaching the client, but she also hears the feedback from the date. That's matchmaker. That's what happens when you work with a matchmaker, which is great because everybody gets to learn what's happening here. What's who's the common denominator. you
How
know
you're really perceived.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. How you're perceived, what you're doing on a repetitive basis that to you might feel normal, but you don't realize because you're just being you. But to other people, you also get to see, what's, I forgot what I was going to say. This is menopause brain right
Well,
here.
you get to reconcile what their experience was and it usually has nothing to do with you.
Right, right. Exactly.
Is that what you're going to say?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting better. I've been sick.
Well, I think oh, go ahead.
No, no, you go.
I was just going to say, I think that last thing, right? Like to reframe the story is, you know, if you are emotionally exhausted, know that is something that you need to clear up because building a relationship at a stage in life when we're older, um, it's even more difficult sometimes than being like I always think about kids going to a new school. Celine, you went to a million new schools, so you probably can relate and maybe tell a better story. But I think about when you go to a new school, um, you either you have to be the person that sits next to someone and says, "Hey, will you be my friend?" Or there's always someone that grabs you and says, "Hey, come sit here with me."
Yeah,
Right? And so, but that has to happen.
yeah.
Someone has to reach out and say, "Come with me. I'm
Yeah,
actually really good at this relationship building."
yeah,
Or, "Can I sit here? I'm really good at this." And
yeah,
that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as gender. I don't look at it as masculine, feminine. I look at it as a human. Some people are the "Can I sit here?" Some
yeah,
people are the "Come with me." And some people are the I I'm going to just be here and invisible until I'm comfortable.
yeah, yeah,
That happens. All of that it happens on dating, all of it.
yeah,
But we have to communicate. And so that's why you get all these weird awkwardness people because we're still the 5-year-old, or not five, because fives I think are probably way more, come. But like that 9-year-old,
yeah,
right? That like really insecure, starting to become insecure. So that's what we are in the dating world. And so if we can just have more compassion for people and not just assume that someone's shitty, I think
yeah.
helps.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I do remember what I was going to say about your experience of getting feedback both ways is, and this is something that I've noticed with the men in my life, is when I talk too much, my son, we'll just put it this way. My son has a lot to say and he will not say it until there's been a much silent time in between when I finish talking and when he's ready to talk. The silent time is because men will say, well, I didn't get a chance to say anything, and it's because women don't necessarily leave a big enough gap for men to speak. And when I say men and women, I'm just saying that anecdotally. I think it's people to people, person to person, right? It has nothing to do with masculine, feminine. Mostly, I'm just talking about leaving empty space having the opportunity for someone else to fill it, and that's very difficult for us because nobody wants to be in a state of dead air, right?
Well, that's what's so funny, right? Like I had to sit on my hands. I was really trying to change this, not just to manipulate men to think I'm different, but I wanted to change it about myself because it's something I didn't like about myself.
Mm,
I didn't like being told I was loud and I talked too much. And, God, you can't get in. I hated that about myself. And I hated people telling me that all the time. So I really did want to shift it. And, and so I'd sit on my hands and I just like would not speak. I wouldn't ask a question. I just was like so silent. And so we talk about it, today. And I was like, it was so painful. And he was like, I thought it was great. Like his experience of
wow,
the date was so great. He was like, "We totally talked, right?" And I was just there was so much silence, but I refused to fill it.
that's awesome. That's
It was
awesome. Hard to do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hard to do. And I did. It was really uncomfortable. But like I said, like
You're willing to do it, willing to
yeah.
take the bullet.
Yeah, yeah, you got to change.
Yeah.
So reframing the story, if you so okay, so most people say they're emotionally exhausted, but they actually aren't. They're just still continuing that language,
Mm,
right? So if you are truly emotionally exhausted, then yes, you need to go deal with that and figure it out. But if you're just continuing that language because you in fear of recreating that again,
mhm,
truly what are the odds? If you are a 62-year-old and you have been taking care of people your whole life, what are the odds that you are going to enter into another relationship like that? I mean, don't do it. Then you haven't learned anything, right? If
mhm.
you haven't learned to be different with people at that stage, I don't know. So you got to reframe it. You got to let go of that language. And you just because, and you got to say, um, I am still a caretaker. That is my superpower. I'm really great at it. And I can't wait to be in a loving relationship where we take care of each other. Period, the end. And
Yeah.
just get rid of the
The
he
one-sidedness around it.
yeah, the heaviness around it.
Yeah.
And then start to, like you said in the very beginning, I think to come full circle is you said all that being on a first date is these little back and forths of taking care of each other. You can do it really easy.
Yeah.
Did you make it here okay? You
Mhm.
know, right? Like, have you ate yet? Do you want to look at the menu or what were you planning on? Just a quick coffee? You know,
Yeah.
that is demonstrating leadership, it's demonstrating kindness, it's demonstrating care, all of it. And then coming back and saying, but here's the deal, if you just take it because you're so starved for it and you never give it, that person isn't really going to feel it for you. Don't be shocked if they don't feel a strong connection for you because you didn't move them. They may have filled your need, but if you weren't exciting to them,
Yeah.
they're probably going to leave. You're going to go, "Oh my gosh, he didn't call. Why not?" Well, because you didn't meet him in that caretaking. You
Mhm.
just took because you needed it so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof.
Ultimately, a good relationship where people feel taken care of means that they are taking care of each other. And that can be in different ways. There's the whole love language thing around, I receive love in this way and I feel love that way, right? Like and while it's important to, you know, while it's important to feel loved and taken care of, it's important to feel seen and it's important to see. So when someone else is taking care of the things that matter to them for you, right? That's for them, right? It makes them feel good to make you feel good, right? And so vice versa. When you are doing something that makes you feel good to make that other person feel good, right? That's where you both are coming at it from the same place as far as like, it makes me feel good when you feel good. That and whatever you're doing to take care of that person. If you know that they love hot coffee in bed every morning, you're going to get them that, right? If they know that you love, you know, which I could think of something opposite of that.
No, I love that, because that's what I want every morning. I'm like, I would love a coffee in bed, right? And I know that if I make a pot of coffee, it sounds so silly, but if I make a pot of coffee for Ryan, he's like, "Oh my God, babe, thank you so much." It
Right.
just he feels loved so easily, right?
And so sometimes you got to make the pot of coffee, and sometimes you got to say, "Would you bring me a cup of coffee in bed?" Right? Like you just have to like allow yourself to be taken care of. You have to ask for it. You have to let them know what you're needing, what you're wanting, and assume that they get joy out of it. Because I really think when you're giving to someone else and you're creating joy for yourself, you're also creating it for them, and that is intimacy. That is taking care of someone, and it doesn't have to be supporting them or giving them a home to live in, or anything heavy, or thinking of all the things to do, or having all the fun banter, right? Like that isn't necessarily um, taking care of someone if you don't enjoy it. If it doesn't bring you joy, that's
Yeah.
that's
You
not
know you
relationship.
know what's interesting? I know we wanted to wrap this, but you just kind of made me think of
Yeah,
a cool point. Um, you know, uh, how can we do this little things on dates, like a little bit more of that, right?
yeah.
And one person said, "Oh, do you dabble in the stock market?" And she said, "No, I don't." And the gentleman said, "Oh, you got to do that. I can teach you that. I can teach you that." You know, and she was like, "Oh, forgot what that's like. That feels really good." Not that she's going to take him up on or whatever. She's like, "That was cute." Um, and he said, "What's your favorite thing to order in restaurants?" And she's like, "I love salmon." And she's like, "I would never order salmon on a first date, or I'd never order a big meal on a first date just to be respectful of someone's, I don't know if I'm paying, if he's paying. I just don't know the rules, and I just want to be respectful." And he said, "You have to order the salmon here." And she's just like, she said it was very cute. She said he triggered all my daddy issues
Mm,
because I felt so taken care of, and she loved it. She loved it, loved it. But I think dating service-oriented people
mm,
could be a good way if we're looking for what are, some of these um signs that this person could be good. If you're meeting them, it is, maybe in how did you make it, the can I walk you to your car? Those things, they all do really matter. Women, make sure you're doing them too.
mhm.
Like don't just assign that role to your date, you
Yeah.
know? And then um service-oriented people, firefighters, EMTs, you know, yeah, military, people who, humanitarians, people who have chosen, service to others usually make great teammates.
Mm,
You
nice.
know, because
Yeah.
they understand what has to take place in order to take care of a body on the side of the road. Do you know
Mm,
what I mean? They know that it is collaboration. It is not one person to make like so they know how to integrate and be really productive and then also a lot of times it does come from a place of wanting to serve. Not always, but it can, But again, even if it's not the servant heart that led them there, the team orientation or the skill set is a positive one too. So,
yeah. Yeah. That's great. So I think, yes, let's definitely wrap this up. But I think that something we should also talk about next, or in 2 weeks or whatever, is this give and take of if you're taking care of and you're taking care of, it's how to receive. And so if you
oh,
know
sure.
how
Yeah.
to receive, that person is going to feel you receiving them, and receiving love, especially if you've not been in a relationship, or if you've been giving, taking care of kids, you that kind of thing. Receiving can feel very unknown and scary. It can be almost a trauma response because it makes you feel very vulnerable. And however, I think that it's a huge piece that if you want a relationship where both people are coming together, you have to be able to receive. So keep,
Yeah, that's a big one.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. This
All
was
right,
so
good.
fun.
I know, this is good. Thanks everybody for watching, and please comment that you watched and let us know if you've got any questions, or you want to dive deeper into any of these topics. We want to help. Okay. Have a
Awesome.
great day.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.